Hello and welcome to another Let's Play. Me, GamerWolfSix of Sileo, Tales of a New Dawn. Before we start, if you're interested in playing this game, you can get it free on itch.io. But if you want to support the people that make this game, you're gonna get the newest version earlier, Patreon, where it's $5 a month, $54 a year. So, on the last Let's Play, we decided to go against fate because now we're boyfriends again. Well, maybe not fate, but, we just weren't sure whether or not to be like, hey, so, that whole thing that was making us both go crazy, yeah, we can just smooth over that and just be boyfriends again, right? And also we confessed to now re-boyfriend again that we slept with Logan, and he was like, well, was it good? And I was like, yeah, it's like, well, as long as it's good and all that stuff, then, yeah, everything's fine. I mean, things happen and whatnot, and we weren't together, so, Also, you're under the influence of pheromones created accidentally by a multi-thousand-year-old, bird person. These things happen. Anyways, reset my face. And continue. I am curious, but I understand. So Tobias came back to Woodcrest then? Oh, right, and there was this whole thing about, Logan's friend who was no longer a friend, but then, Ty was like, sounds like Tobias, somebody that's with, the bull guy. Lucas? Lucas. This is so nice. I can do this. I can just be like, who the fuck is this person? Right click, click, that person. Cool. Not with as in with. I mean with as in like, taken care of. Anyways, he did, though it was a complicated endeavor, to say the least. An opportunity fell through, and he ended up sleeping on the streets, too proud to ask for help. Eventually, Lucas found him and forced help upon him. Thankfully, he turned things around, accepted a rather questionable job offer, and turned in something perfect for his skill set. He's even using his degree, which seems like quite the rarity in this day and age. Yeah, it do be like that. What's the questionable job? Wait a sec. Suddenly, it was like a lightning bolt had struck. Surely, it couldn't be, right? Hey, was it Sidonia University he went to, not AOU or one of the others? Oh yes, I believe that is correct. What did he major in? I believe it was computer science. Wait, was that not what you studied? Right. And did you say he was 22? I did. Yes. Surely not. From the look on Ty's face, he had predicted was about to tell him. I couldn't believe that I hadn't clicked sooner. Tobias, a 22-year-old monkey who had moved to Sidonia. I knew him. Diego knew him. I suppose the focus on him being an orphan here in Woodcrest had thrown me off the scent. After all, he had never told Diego or me about those things. I didn't know he had been an orphan. I suppose there was still some possibility they were different people. White fur, longish hair, about my height. An incredible coincidence. Small world, is it not? What was I thinking, like, some time ago? I was like, oh, small world. I don't know. It sure sounded like him. Everything matched up, right down to his distinctive haircut. What a bizarre twist. Yeah, small world. He never told us about being an orphan or anything, but it's like you said, he's fiercely independent. And yeah, he could be quite the handful sometimes. We were sitting together in a most boring, useless class of all during my second year. And he got me into trouble basically every day. Now, that sure sounds like Tobias I know. It's a miracle we both passed that class. And you know what? A handful is an understatement. You know when Diego is calling somebody chaotic, and you know when Diego is calling somebody chaotic, that is the truth. Oh, Diego, those who live in glass houses should not throw stones. Anyway, I suppose your next step should be to talk to Logan and see if this Toby really is the same person. If so, I believe we can facilitate a reunion. I think he'd be thrilled if we could. If a little nervous. Hell, a lot nervous. But he could sure use another friend. I know how much he regrets how things ended between them. Well then, I'll leave the next step up to you. Let's know how things goes. I will help if I am able. Thanks, Ty. The two of us shared a smile before I turned to look at the setting sun in the distance. But after several long moments, it became clear that Ty was still looking right at me with an expectant look on his face, and I couldn't for the life of me think of why. Is everything okay, Ty? Are you not forgetting something? I don't think so. I know, we went a long way off topic, but you're about to tell me how the rest of your night went. Which one? Oh, duh. Yeah, sorry. Well, like I said, he proposed the idea. He wasn't looking for anything long-term, and was eager to lose his V-card with somebody he trusted. And then, now, we just became friends. He trusted me. To him, I was the best opportunity he'd seen in a long while. And honestly, I wanted a piece of that. So, yeah. Oh, come now. Don't end on a, so yeah, I want the deets. Or details. Oh, but only if you're comfortable, of course. It's kinda weird, but okay. So, he had gone all out, had visited a sex shop that afternoon. Did he? I thought he ordered it in, though maybe he did go out. I would be very surprised to think of Logan walking into a sex shop. Didn't know Woodcrest even had one. Anyway, he had a small selection of equipment, I guess you would say, in the bag. Things like a blindfold, handcuffs, a cock ring, and a vibrator. How bold for his first time. I admire his spirit. I thought so too. I guess he wanted to make his first time memorable. Anyway, I blindfolded him, cuffed him to the bed, got the ring on him, vibrator in him, and set to maximum strength no less. And then I got on top and rode him until he finished. Now that does sound like a good time. Whoa, I haven't finished yet. Oh, really? Well then, please continue. After that, I replaced the vibrator with the real deal, and oh god, he was tight. Unbelievably tight. Took some work to get to the knot, and there was no way he was going to be able to take it the first time round, so I did my thing with the rest, and just when I was finishing, come on. I'm possibly trembling with anticipation. I got a little overexcited, and nodded him by mistake. I haven't, played with my stuff recently, but trying to take a knot? Ooh. But maybe Adrian's knot isn't as big as, a David? Or a bad dragon. Oh dear. Adrian, I have seen you at full mast. It was a challenge for me, and my 22 years of experience, 20-odd years of experience. I know. It was a mistake, and I got instant karma. Believe me, I got stuck for 40 minutes. Oh my goodness, that must be some kind of record. It's definitely mine, and Diego claims he's never come close either. And, it's awkward to tell you this, but remember when you called me that night? I, was still stuck during that call. I knew I heard a bear, and you tried to pass it off as a movie. Shame on you, Adrian. Guilty as charged. Anyway, I eventually got loose. Logan had shot like 3 times by that point. It was a complete mess. I never even seen anybody fire so many consecutive loads, all being such respectable quantities too. Hold on now. 3, you say? Did he use anything to enhance that effect? A canister of bear claw, perhaps? No, nothing at all. And yeah, about 3, I think. They're all huge anyway. Like, seriously huge. His bedsheets were just massacred afterwards. I've never seen somebody produce so much. It sounds like I have a lot to live up to. Challenge accepted. Shh, don't get me all excited too quickly. Anyway, that's pretty much the end of the story. After that, I went home and got a lecture by Diego. And after that morning is when you and I met at the cafe. You know the rest of the story, I guess. I see. Thank you for telling me, Adrian. And I apologize if that was strange for you. I simply wanted to hear what you'd been up to in our time apart. I know a lot of it was rough, but I'm genuinely glad to hear that there was a good amount of fun and lighthearted stuff mixed in between yourself and Logan, or yourself and Axel. I'm assuming you enjoyed spending the night with his family? Definitely. His dad's really cool. Until he starts telling jokes. And his mom? She's terrifying. And terrible with names. I got called everything under the sun except for Adrian. Still, they make for an entertaining duo. And it was good to catch up with Axel too. Sounds like the whole Operation Fox Die thing isn't going so well though. Wait, we actually did call it Fox Die? I thought it was Fox Kiss. Yeah, I don't know. The whole romantic side of things is getting kind of complicated with them. It was kind of... Oh, there you go. Oh dear. Fox State, do you mean? What happened? It's a long story, and I promise Axel I would keep it a secret. The simple version is that it isn't going so well. Dom isn't really taking the bait, and Axel is getting antsy. So wait, was that supposed to be a... I'll just put that there. There we go. In a thing. Rip, wrong way. Antsy. Oh dear, that does not sound good. Yeah, I encourage him to speak to Dom directly, rather than continue beating around the bush. He's nervous, but I think that's best at his stage. I can only imagine. He's not the courageous type. Not like you. Oh, psh. I'm serious. You were courageous enough to come here in the first place, and courageous enough to come back when you didn't know how things had ended up. I'm very proud of you for that. Though I'm ashamed I had not hit myself. Sorry, got hiccups. Yeah, I guess. Though, if I have to be honest, telling you all about what went down between me and Logan, in some way, that was the hardest part of all. I could not help but think back to the dream I had experienced that morning. How, in that dream, when I told about Logan, Ty spurned into a furious rage. He felt betrayed by my actions, as though I had replaced them. And honestly, that seemed like a normal reaction to such a situation. But Ty was anything but ordinary. By his own proclamation, not only did he claim to be completely unfazed by it, but also showed interest, excitedly enjoying the beat-by-beat recap of the whole sordid affair. I admire Ty's level-headedness, is that really one word, and maturity, but I felt a tiny pang of doubt lingering in beneath the surface of my mind. A tiny pang which would quickly become agony if left undressed. And so, I had to ask one more time. I had to be certain that Ty meant what he said. Hey Ty, if I ask you a question, can you promise to be 100% honest with me when you answer? Please, it's really important. My dear, I've already promised you my honesty in every word that I speak. A solidarity sentence is no different. Solitary. Yeah. You need not even ask. Ask away, my love. Does it bother you at all what happened with Logan? I mean, because it would be normal if it did. And it's okay. I want to work it out with you, if it's the case. But if you don't tell me, I can't do that. So, please, answer me honestly. Does it bother you? Even a tiny bit? Adrian, my love, I'm a swinger. Okay, thumbnail? Ty pulled me into another passionate, loving kiss. I promise you, from the bottom of my heart, it does not bother me one bit. He had once again reassured me, and once again the lingering sense of doubt remained. It ate away at my insides, gnawed my flesh from the inside out. Wait, it remained? I don't quite know why, but I'm having a really hard time believing you. It's not that I don't trust you, because I do, 100%. Honestly, I don't know why it is, but I do. You feel the way you do because you fear that I have a problem with it. Because somewhere deep down, you do. Not because I have a problem with it, but you do. You're simply having difficulty processing the fact, and instead, you find yourself projecting that guilt on me, hoping I'll judge you so that you will not have to judge yourself. But I'm okay with it. I've done stuff like that before. I've never had a problem. It's okay, my love. It is not an act itself that you're uncertain about. It's that you feel as though you've done something terrible in the context of our relationship. After all, you slept with somebody while you're deeply in love with somebody else. That's enough to disorient anybody. You fear that you've hurt me. You fear that these actions may cost you the future you desire, and you have to come to face with reality, expecting some kind of backlash or punishment to ease your guilty conscience. And yet none came. You were struggling to process that the danger is over. You make it sound as though I need punishment. Ooh. Well then, when you put it that way, I am sure that can be arranged. But Adrian, rest assured that everything is okay. You'll come to realize this in time. I know you are confused now, but hang in there, okay? Alright, but I'm taking you up on that offer for punishment. I know it's not exactly the right sort of punishment. Maybe it'll help me feel better? If not, at least it'll be fun. Goodness. Well then, punishment it is. I'm looking forward to it. And so am I. And you're right. I guess I knew that already. That it wasn't my actions I was struggling with, but my emotions, my love, and my guilt. I don't regret the act itself, and I don't regret making a new friend. I don't regret that stuff at all. I'm glad to hear that, my dear. Casual encounters can be quite the mixed bag at times. I've had my fair share of regretful situations over the years, so much so that I swore off casual encounters for good. There were a couple I guess I regret. I didn't make a habit of sleeping around though. I just had the odd run-ins here and there, to keep me from going crazy I suppose. Boy, I need to have one of those. But I also don't think I could swear them off entirely while single. I don't know how you manage. The lengthy dry spells would drive me nuts. But do not worry. With things now patched up, there'll be no dry spells on the horizon from either of us, my dear, unless one of us, has a testicle injury or something. Can't wait to get started. I suppose it's been a while since you've had a proper dry spell, huh? Unless the month between Apollo and me is long enough to count. Well, whether a month counts very much depends on who you ask. For Lucas's favorite employee, I suspect a week would be quite the drought. As for me, I cannot say a month counts. No, 2 or 3 perhaps, but not 1. Were you single for a while before Apollo? Yes. It had been a few years. I'd still been the Black Claws when I dated that egotistical, pompous buffoon. Oh? I rubbed my hands together in an almost comical fashion, eager to hear the tale which would inspire such venom from Ty, typically gentle demeanor. I beamed with excitement, legs crossed, as I eagerly waited for Ty to elaborate. Having seen my display, he unleashed a lengthy sigh. I suppose I should have kept my mouth shut if I'd wanted to avoid this topic. Well, the short version is, you may remember that earlier I mentioned breaking things off with a former romantic partner in this very spot. Well, that is who I meant. Flynn was his name, a blue jay. He stood out on account of being impeccably groomed and exceptionally handsome to boot. You would hope so, given the thousands of dollars of my money spent on beauty products and the hours, plural, he dedicated each day to preening himself. And boy, this guy's a thing for boys. It was a very short-lived romance. I had mistaken him for somebody considerably less vain and self-important. I was always second to him in everything as far as he's concerned. He treated his life like it was some kind of beauty pageant and treated others as though they were the losers in said pageant. And so, it was right here, several years ago. I knew not why he had come along, but I know he had insisted on making my time here miserable. He did not like the wind, nor the pollen, the sun, and even the moisture in the air. Ugh. Okay. I mean, I guess these people are European. Because it seems like a European kind of person, I don't know. I'm just picking that up. But you do not get to complain about people complaining about moisture until you lived in East Texas. Or the South. Ah. And then, almost as though the wind had grown tired of his complaints, as I had, a precious designer brush. His precious design brush was whisked away by a particularly powerful gust and sent careening over the edge, never to be seen again. And my word, the tension in me threw about that. You'd think someone he'd loved had died. Actually, scratch that. I attended his cousin's funeral, and he was not half as upset. But you see, that is the catch. Because he loved nobody more than he loved himself, and had long since driven his remaining loved ones away with his vile personality. Even I, his boyfriend, was less important to him than he was. The only thing that perhaps could have rivaled his own importance was that a designer brush. To him, it was a king, akin to life itself. As I sat here, his bleating little more than irritating background noise, I realized what Gran would have said about all this. She would have asked me why on earth was I putting up with him. She would have asked me if I even loved him. And I could only have answered no. And realizing that, I decided that enough was enough. I gave him a piece of my mind. I endured for far too long. And I had so much boiled up. I let loose. It was not pretty. I called him out on everything. And you know what was hilarious? Act as though I were the fool. He simply couldn't believe that I had dumped him. After all, he was too flawless to be dumped. That ignorant, conceited imbecile. I apologize. It is unlike me to speak with such hostility. Even the likes of Glenn. I treat with more respect than I did Flynn. Oh, it was like, Flynn, that sounds familiar. The guy from Echo. You know, the Munder Lizards monster? Gila monster. Is it really called a Gila monster? I know it's Gila, but monster? For all of Glenn's flaws, he has nothing on Flynn. Flynn is just something completely alien to me. I cannot put it into words. He sure sounds like a piece of work. High on his own farts. Hey! Head so far up his own ass that he can see daylight. I like the smell of my own farts. Give me a break. Precisely right. Ha ha ha. But returning to our prior topic, I was in no rush to resume dating after that miserable experience. Honestly, being alone was 1,000 times more pleasant than being with Flynn, and drastically more affordable besides. I suppose you could say it took some time to smell the roses. I took some time to smell the roses. Though it was also true that it was around that time that the Black Claw split. I had opened a bar shortly after as well, so I had plenty to keep me occupied. Then eventually, Apollo would visit, and once again, I would become spoken for by a Boyd. Thankfully, Apollo was a total opposite of Flynn in every conceivable way. He was rich. So, what? The dry spell was a few years, I guess? It was a few years between Flynn and Apollo, certainly, but it was no dry spell. Honestly, things were drier with Flynn. He so disliked getting messy. Yeah. You really hated Flynn, huh? Or hate Flynn? No, I hate myself for being stupid enough to date a guy like him in the first place. I resent my inability to see how bad he was for me until much too late. I regret that I let him take advantage of me in every way that he could, only to treat me like a second-class citizen. You know, you and Diego have a similar amount of venom for your exes. You two should get together and have a good old-fashioned vent one of these days. Oh, worry not. Those wounds of mine have closed many years now. I just make a point to never forget what happened. That way, I can be sure to avoid repeating those same mistakes. If I had to choose between being alone for the rest of my life and being with him, that would become a serious dry spell. Speaking of, you said before that between him and Apollo, there was no dry spell. I thought you had given up on casual encounters. Indeed I had. Then? Well, we did promise you honesty, or I did. And you did tell me about your encounter with Logan, so I suppose I can tell you this. So, as long as you promise to keep it a secret, okay? I never said this. You never heard this. Repeat it to nobody. Ooh, the sound saucy. Hit me, big tiger. Okay, I feel like that he was doing it with somebody. So, who's on that list? Chemicals. Well, he was doing it with a shark most of the time. He doesn't do too much. I don't think he would do it with him. He just moved into town. No, probably not. Because they just split up. Probably not. Yeah, he still was a virgin. Character. So maybe Lucas? I'm thinking either Eric or Lucas. Probably Lucas. So, I was well cared for during this time, and I'd always have been. Swearing off casual encounters was never a big deal for that reason. I don't understand. Well, let me put it this way. You cannot rightly call it casual encounter when you've known this person for your entire life now, can you? Huh? Oh. You and Lucas? Seriously? Easy there. I would not be surprised if he had heard it all the way from Woodcrest. But seriously? Is that like super weird or something? Not at all. I suppose it might have been when we first started out, but it had practically become a routine for us. Not that it was not enjoyable, however. How long has this been going on? About 22 years? 22 years? You were 17? 17, yes, and Lucas 18. Legal is part of the world. Legal in this part of the world. And if you cannot wrap your head around that, try this on for size. If I'm not mistaken, that was the year you were born. Way to make this creepy tie. You're quite welcome, my love. Just think, I have been enjoying an extra 17 years of experience you can now benefit from. Yay for older guys, I guess. But you and Lucas, I still can't quite wrap my head around all that. I cannot believe that you two used to, wait, is this something that still happens? Or still something that happens? Well, we met up once after Paul and I split, but rest assured, when either of us are in a relationship, these meetings cease, only to continue should we both become single once again. And rest assured, Lucas and I are friends. Best friends, certainly, but our meetings are not romantic in context. It's quite simply a case of two friends helping each other out. Bros being bros. We both have needs, and we share the means to satisfy them. So, if we are otherwise unoccupied, what is that to say? A friend in need is a friend indeed. Man, if Eric knew about this, he'd be so jealous. Little Hornball is hell-bent on getting into Lucas's pants. Please, a pint-sized pipsqueak like him would lack the capacity. Huh? Lack the capacity? Let's merely say that if the unlikely day were to come that he got his wish, it would be wise to have an ambulance waiting somewhere nearby. Whoa. So it's true then? What they say about bulls? In general, yes. But even among his kind, my friend is rather extraordinary. Have you heard of Long Dick Johnson? Or who is some... I was rewatching an older video, not too old, like a couple of months, and it was like Dick Longus or something, on like something... has like a wine bottle sized dick. Shit. Well, now I feel a touch inadequate. If you had something like that on tap for all these years, how will I even hope to compete? Fear not. You see, you have something very, very important that Lucas does not. If you say some cheesy shit like your heart, I swear. I was gonna say not, but that too, I suppose. Sure. I'm dead serious. And on a similar serious note, please know there is nothing romantic between Lucas and me. We're simply close friends with a dire lack of boundaries, and nothing will happen going forward. Simply put, I have a delicious Nautic Tusky to keep me satisfied. I guess, in a really weird and vaguely gross way, it's kind of sweet that what you guys have. Speaks for how close you two are, and that you help each other out like that. You guys meet up once after Apollo, you said? I hope Lucas isn't mad that I stole you away so quickly. Not one bit. Lucas is nothing but supportive in my romantic endeavors, and yours for that matter. He will do everything he can to ensure that we thrive together. Besides, men are tripping over one another, hoping for a shot with him. He could have his pick, even now if I'd wager, but not bad for 40. Worst case, oh god, I'm 5 years off. It was kind of funny. I was buying alcohol a couple of days ago. Yeah, bad on me. And I was carded. And it's like, yeah, I've got a good decade in plus on, needing to be carded, but yay. Worst case scenario, he can always cough up some dough for Eric's medical bills, right? It will be a snowy day in hell when that happens, I can assure you. And I know it might have seemed like a joke to you, but I was dead serious about your knots, by the way. No amount of length or girth can replicate something like that. I'm rather thrilled to once again have a partner equipped with one. It had been a long, long time since I enjoyed that wondrous sensation. Taking a step back from the whole discussion... Fuck, I'm just having one of those age things. It really didn't take us long to make this sexual, did it? Oh dear, I do apologize. It's my fault for pushing the details about your encounter with Logan. Would you rather we change the topic? I mean, my brain is all like, we have stuff to do, and Dick is in heaven right now. I concede that I am also enjoying this a little more than perhaps I should be. One more topic, then we should get our affairs in order. Agreed? Agreed. Lovely. I apologize, but I cannot think of one. I can, but it might be super weird. And everything else we've discussed was not super weird? I'm listening intently, my dear. Okay, I guess I'm curious about Apollo. He's kind of different species, right? I mean, he hasn't, but he also kind of was? He wasn't, but he also kind of was. You know what I'm saying, trying to say, right? Point that I'm getting at is, I'm curious whether he had anything, I don't know, different or interesting going on? A perfectly good question. Anatomically, Apollo was exactly as you would expect. There's nothing that was unusual among avian men, and I should know. I've had 2 avian boyfriends in a row. Sounds to me like you have a type. Oh please, I can assure you it was purely coincidence. I am relatively unconcerned by species. It is our connection that is important, and a nice knot certainly helps. This is going downhill quickly. I guess. Things in the bedroom were business as usual with Apollo then? You would think that, but actually, this is not so. He may have as well been anatomically ordinary, but there was an array of quirks he had to take into consideration. For instance, I cannot be half as rough with Apollo as I have already been with you. I could not be. Why is that? Is he more sensitive or something like that? Not sensitive, fragile. His appearance may seem youthful, but remember, he is thousands of years old, and thus lacks a constitution you and I take for granted. I'm certain he told you his kind of failed experiments. It would not be unlike him if he had not. Now, it's not to say that Marsden did not achieve some fantastical feat with the immortals, but the experiments which led to their birth fueled some incredibly useful research, but to achieve actual immortality, they were indeed considered failures. You see, they were never truly immortal. Perhaps indefinite is the better word. It's impossible to say how long each immortal has, but their death is not a matter of if, but rather of when. In addition, the very modifications which facilitated the incredibly long lives also resulted in a litany of unpleasant and oftentimes crippling side effects. Each immortal differed from the last, and so too did their experience unique flaws when compared to their kin, and severe fragile was one of the many experienced by Apollo. I see. He never talked about this. I guess we were on borrowed time. It makes sense. What exactly made him so fragile? Is there some specific issue, or was it just the fact of life or something for him? I cannot say I fully understand the finer points, though there are several things he explained to me which were related in some way or another. Allow me to recall. One thing he told me was this. Think about how many calories the average person needs to break even. People like Axel and Dom probably require around 2,000 calories to make do. For Lucas and me, we generally require 3,500 to 4,000 on account of our stature and musculature. With that in mind, how many do you think Apollo would require each day? Well, I think maybe it could be 1,500 or 1,000, but it's probably going to be 500. I know exactly what you're about to do. I'm going to give you a reasonable guess, and it's going to be way off because Apollo's different, right? So, shit. I don't know. If Axel needs 2, Apollo 2.25? He's very thin, but he's also kind of tall too. Wrong. In fact, you called it perfectly. Apollo's different. Different to the tune of around 10,000 calories a day. Wait, he eats that much? I was like, well, it could be either low or it could be high. I was going to low. In other words, he would have to eat 5 times as much as Axel just to survive. He took a versatile pharmacy's worth of vitamins and supplements every day to compensate for the lack of nutrition in his meals, then focusing specifically on foods with very high fat content. A gram of fat contains more than twice as many calories as a gram of carbohydrates or a gram of protein, you see. This means copious quantities of fast food, fried foods, foods cooked in butter and fats, battered everything down, dried in cheese and mayonnaise. Forget water, drink milkshakes. Time for dessert? Do not forget the cream. Jeez, Dago would be jealous, but I feel I'm gonna have a heart attack just thinking about it. That sounds disgusting. Indeed, and it gets worse. If he ate a healthier diet, he would not be able to fit enough of it into his body to meet his needs. He would die within a matter of weeks, and he has no choice but to eat poorly and in massive quantities no less. And despite this, he remains chronically underweight, sometimes even dangerously so, and there's not a single thing he can do to rectify this. Because of that, as well as the struggles with nutrition, he is abnormally frail and friendly prone to broken bones and other injuries. Right now I'm just thinking of, like, I don't know, Apollo just cramming cheeseburgers down his gullet and just has a big table full of cheeseburgers in front of him and stuff like that. Some kind of supersized mirror that's Brain the Teenage Witch thing. As such, any kind of physical exertion is out of the question for Apollo, and it also meant I had to watch my strength with him. Once, I broke 2 of his ribs with a hug that would not have been half as tight as the hug we shared earlier this evening. Thankfully, every cloud has its silver lining, as they say. His wildly accelerated metabolism does come with a few perks. For instance, those broken ribs healed completely within 3 days. Small lacerations would often vanish within a matter of hours as well. As prone to injury as Apollo was, the injury that would have put average person out for weeks would heal in a couple of days. The seriousness with which we treat our own minor cuts would be the equivalent to his response to a far more substantial injury. A broken wrist from a handshake gone wrong? No big deal. That's definitely a perk. A shame about all the other crap that comes along with it. Definitely isn't worth it. Apollo vehemently agrees. And while there are other perks, when you consider how utterly banal some of them are, it almost seems like some kind of cruel joke. What other perks were there? Well, his feathers, for instance. Never in my life have I felt feathers so incredibly soft. I've never dated a bird myself, so forgive me for consulting the expert. How soft are they usually? Expert? I beg your pardon? I've dated 2 birds. 2 who don't make you an expert. Oh, that's right. There was Lewis. 3 birds does not an expert make. Yeah. You and your feather fever. Feather. Into the question. Ty shrugged, having well and truly been called out. Of course, I was merely having fun at his expense, as he knew this fully well, but made for enjoyable banter. Even something as mundane and pedestrian as this had missed out. I was so glad to have Ty back. Well, it varies from species to species. Some species have predisposed having softer plumage, while other species may have a consistently not unlike newspaper. I've only gone this close to one raven. I've previously had a run with a crow. Why is it capitalized? It certainly fell into the latter category. And what was his name? What was his name, Flynn? I bet you made damn sure his was super soft, right? Certainly, he spared no expense, as he dug through my wallet, sourcing funds to bankroll an extravagant beauty regime. And he certainly did not keep them soft for my benefit. But here's the kicker. This is priceless. Listening? Apollos are softer, dramatically so in fact. He don't use a single product of any sort to achieve it. That was simply how his feathers were. He reasoned that the fat in his diet helped a great deal, but there is another reason too. That at this rate, his feathers grew. Just like he healed 5 times faster than the average person, he molted 5 times faster. Every day, picking up feathers, find them caught in couch cushions, tucked in blankets, stuck to towels, clogging in the drain in the shower. Worse yet, he picked up most of his own shedding. The stuff I found, it was just the stuff he had missed the first time round. Far be it for me to give Flynn credit, but his mess of blue feathers was at least mostly confined to spots where there are mirrors. It is such a silly thing, but insignificant thing, but I guess I kinda miss picking up those jet black feathers, if only because he was still around to shed them. Oh, that reminds me, I brought the topic up with Apollo, and he insisted I was exaggerating to the extent of his mess. So to prove him wrong, I brought an empty pillow and began stuffing it with every loose feather I could find. It took less than a week. It made her a very comfortable pillow too. I'd still have it, but I could not bring myself to use it after Paul and I went our separate ways. It smells pleasant. It smells of him. And just reminds me of what I've lost. Ty seemed lost in thought as he stared blankly at his feet. The situation was unique. Here he was, my boyfriend, talking about another man that he loves. And my only instinct was to comfort him. Truth had always seemed stranger than fiction as of late, but I wouldn't trade that truth for anything. I put my arm around his shoulder. His response was a gentle jolt of surprise as my arm made contact with his neck. He peered back at me and smiled lovingly before returning, leaning my side. I think I'm gonna cut it here because, fuck, I was like, oh, we'll just go a little bit longer and then it's about 15 minutes afterwards. Bah. Well, that's gonna be the end of this Let's Play. Woof. So, please comment, cause I like comments, tips you like, dislike, tips, tricks, otherwise. If you like my YouTube and like it grow, then please like, subscribe, and share the rest of it grow. And please remember your animals help control the pet population. And if you want to play this game, it's available for free on itch. I open if you want to support the person that makes this game and get the newest version earlier, you can go to their Patreon, where it's $5 a month, 54 a year. Boy, this scene's been going on. Maybe not this scene specifically, but us getting to Ty is like 1 month, 2 months, about 2 months. Is it just 2 months? Assuming that this day has been going on for 3 months. Anyways, until next time, me, GamerWolfSix, Sileo. Thanks to you. Oh, spay and neuter animals. Boy.